Okay. In the name in the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful. Hello everyone. Okay. All right. Hey everyone. Something up with my voice today. But the energy and the inspiration for a lecture are here. This usually is a sign I should stop giving the talks for a little bit. But whatever. What is life? We wake up, we strategize, we implement, and we witness. I wanted to speak about what I thought was fascinating. I legit sat in this moment before pressing the go live button. And I thought to myself, what is worth talking about? And man, okay, let me see how many numbers I can say before coughing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay. What is that, like 40 seconds? All right, I gotta speak in short sentences. And may God protect my health. All right. What is new if the old still defines it? My attention went to novelty. What do we consider as new? And novelty seems to be way more real as an existential phenomena. In other words, based on how a person sees the human situation, they make conclusions about it, correct? And if I'm here talking about the idea of novelty, I am talking about novelty for the human experience. Therefore, I must start by explaining the structure to the human experience I see. When I see the human being, I see that in front of its eyes, it has access to an outer realms that is public, that is physical. I see that behind its eyes, it has access to the inner realms. The inner realms is like a private server. You know, if the outer realms is a public server where all the other bodies are in, the inner realms is a private server. It is pretty much how there is a sort of privacy policy to experiencing existence. Right now, in modern times, the outer realms does not impinge and has not really begun the invasion of the inner realms. In other words, we human beings are positioned in this world to have a personal experience of an impersonal existence. Okay, and it is our personal, unique experience that is giving us an ability, or how would I say it? We are privately experiencing a public existence. If we didn't have that privacy, and if we weren't all different beings, there would not be a need for communication. It is very obvious to me that in this world, entitlement or entityhood or being an individual is not there for the sake of individualism. It is there for the sake of the interactions of the individual. From a philosophical perspective, it is not too far-fetched to envision a reality that its purpose was communication. To me, what this world has done, even to secular audiences, what evolution has done, has proven that adaptation is necessary to a changing world. Okay? But we are adapting personally, fictionally first, and then realizing what is beyond the fictions of our making. But fiction doesn't mean unreal, it means incomplete. I'll give you a perfect example. You have an atheist debating with a theist. The atheist looks at the theist and says, buddy, you believe in this abstract notion of a being, higher being. You believe in a God that can't be proven. You believe in a fictional God. The atheist laughs at the theist and the blind cloud applauds. But unfortunately, the theists have not responded like this. And the atheists are lucky I wasn't in the room. If I was in the room, I would be like, hey, Sir Atheist, understand that what within you is rejecting the idea that is within the other person is as abstract. In other words, the moment you reject any fictional notion, you are rejecting all fictional notions. Do you understand? And we cannot ignore how our sense of self is also fiction. What is rejecting God is as fiction as the God it sees, if it sees God as fiction. What people think is God is actually a state. You right now probably think you're a human being, right? You think you're a human being on earth. That's what you think, right? But you're not that. You are a state of conscious being. Everything within your moment equates a state of being. And I'm here trying to tell people, guys, how have we been actually understanding novelty? Somebody explain this to me. I'm a huge fan of Terence McKenna lectures. You know, he's one of the great speakers that inspired me. He also spoke about novelty very brilliantly. But let me tell you that how is it possible to understand something new if everything you're seeing has meaning ascribed to it from the past? If I look at this object beside me, and this object is not just some giant object, heavy object, it is a car. That means meaning is based on past forms. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not saying novelty doesn't exist. Yes, the world changes in ways we haven't seen before. Phenomenology appears in ways we haven't seen before. I am saying the meaning we human species give to the novelty is based on the past, so how is it new? In other words, novelty means a new being. We are reaching a time where the human voice is becoming important. I'm not kidding. That's one of the reasons I decided to show my face for the YouTube channel. I'm like, oh my God, it's begun. The dehumanization of the human species through all the methods that are avoiding nature's basic principles. You know, guys, I am far. Like, I feel the Miyamoto Musashi of consciousness discussions. And Miyamoto Musashi understood that each circumstance required a different engagement. There are warriors that learn one way to fight and they fight that way their whole life. And then there are warriors who see the fight beyond themselves. Oh, my beloved species, who else is there to say this stuff? Who else is there to point out every new thing in our life we've been comparing to everything familiar thing in our life? When you go see how the brain works, it works on pattern recognition, yo. It works on pattern recognition. I remember reading a psychology book years ago. This psychologist was giving an explanation of how neural patterns are made in the brain. He was saying, imagine there's this cube of jello and you pour 1 spoon of hot ink, teaspoon of hot ink. The hot ink will create a dent on the jello, and then the next time you pour the hot ink over the jello, the same spot, it will go through those past dents and make deeper dents. So similarly, you are not just making memories. You're like this clay, okay? And each experience is putting a dent and changing you. As someone who 12,500 days I've lived on this planet. 12,500 new days, yo. I've seen this loop. It's freaking looping. The meaning to we ascribe to novelty is looping, yo. It's circulatory. Am I the first person in human history to figure this out? Do you know the continental philosophers? Ludwig Wittgenstein, set the limits of my language are the limits of my world. Okay, the poet Hafiz from 800 years ago, this Persian poet said, the words you speak become the house you live in. It is no surprise to anyone that language contextual is the context of meaning. We look at objects and we don't let them just be objects. We convert them into subjective significance. And this is both necessary at the same time. It's like, yo, man, when you were young, when you were a toddler, your parents needed to hold your hand. That was necessary. Years later, you're an 80-year-old man. Okay, 80-year-old man probably needs somebody to hold their hand. But I'm saying, like, imagine you're like 50-year-old man. Do you still need somebody to hold your hand? That means if you outgrow a behavioral language that you were using when you were young, and you outgrow the ideological language, or I'm saying pretty much we've reached that point where humans are realizing that their experience of existence surpasses how an idea defines existence. It is not easy for me to come to a species lost in a linguistic simulation and be like, language, guys? Are we just looking at language? Do you know what I mean? I have noticed immediately that to be a human being is really a conditional life. Okay, you gotta go eat food, you gotta meet certain conditions to continue existing. And if you want to exist better, the conditions shift from physical to non-physical conditions you need to be responsible for. You have been trained in a world, if I could go back in, I mean, I wouldn't probably, but you know, I am someone who what disgusts me? What disgusts me in my 30s? The fact that I was a quiet, shy kid and I let these teachers of the educational system say whatever they wanted. And I was like, yo, superior being, keep imparting your wisdom. I am ashamed of every teacher I have had because I know that there is a fear when it comes to the scholarly realm. It is the fear of not fitting in. This is why the only true scholars in the realms are the unknownists, or they were called mystics. Do you know what kind of people these are? These people are the type of humans that you can bring libraries in front of them of knowledge, of ways to know things, of modes to look at things. And they will be like, okay, what hasn't been seen? You don't understand. You're listening to a member of the human species. This is not easy for me to say. It's emotionally heavy. It's like I'm the black sheep, okay? And all of civilization is convinced by knowledge. You all just want to satisfy conditions. And at the end of your life, wonder about the unconditional. What is that? It's a very intense game to be alive as a human being. And there's a way to play it. In every game, okay? Anybody who's played any game, okay? The secret to winning games is positioning. And the secret to functioning in this life is understanding the positioning of it all. What is that understanding? If everyone in your life has given you a thumbs up and has patted you on the back for knowing things. Mr. Within is one of those people in history who will give you a high five for noticing what you don't know. That's the real human life. It begins in the unknown. We forget it. We distract ourselves. We think an idea has to own us till the day we die. What is that? Even the language, till the day we die. What is that idea of us that is dying? Somebody tell me, what is a memory? Do you want me to tell you? You want to know the hard truth of consciousness? You want to know what's scary about it? I'll tell you what's scary about it. What's scary about it is, if you ask a human being, tell me about your memories, they've classified their memories through senses of self. They use a method of self to organize them. Oh yeah, I was this person then, I was doing that then. But when you look at your memories, they are not just you in a vacuum. It is an event. In other words, I gave a talk years ago on this. The smallest unit, existentially, we say it's an atom. Okay, I coined the term, the smallest unit of the mind is an eventum. It's an event. You think you are people. You don't understand. You are this organism that is taking the whole event and classifying it because it has remodeled it first. You know, there's people on this planet that are still fighting over the ego of the planet. Do you understand? Let me tell you this. At some point, this is part of the maturity of the species. Species level thinking will unlock. Don't even call it thinking. It's called, forget the word thinking. Forget the word thought. Forget even the way they explain to you body, mind, soul. Okay, forget everything. And I will tell you, there's only one way. If billions, if masses of people, ran towards me and they're like, Mr. Within, what's the truth? I will break myself in infinite ways to show you that the void can't be claimed by man's mind. Do you know what I mean by that? I mean that unless you realize you're actually, this whole time, doesn't matter conscious state, this deep sleep state, waking state, this whole time you are an unknown being in an unknown world that is happening as an event, not a noun. In other words, this is the lie, yo. This was the lie. Go and be a successful human being. That's the lie. That the lie is in some sense, go and be a human being. Go and be something you're not. In other words, you are so certain you are something now. All these people, depressed, anxiety, suffering, depression, they are so certain the view they have on themselves is exactly them. How do you know the secret eyes of this world? In other words, if there are higher order processes, if there are greater eyes, the value of us does not belong to us alone. In other words, you are an unknown being, possessed by ideology for the sake of survival. And I can from only behind this invisible glass be like, I can't tell you to stop being an idea. I can't tell you to stop being a character in a story. All I can say is ask where the story is happening. There will come moments where it's equivalent to like lightning, but it's from behind your eyes. If I tell you what's the most dramatic thing that could change in front of your eyes, you would be like, yo, man, like something happening to me or something happening to the world or the planet. Let me tell you, the external apocalypse, it is set on a date we don't know. The unseen is not in our jurisdiction of the condition. Every moment your attention realigns due to new information, the brain responds to a new moment. There is a, how do I explain it? The common man thinks that it's like normal life and then spiritual life. The average person, it's a duality. But what if you realize the unknown is bigger than the known? What if you realize every human being's effort to know this world, it's not that it has been in vain, but it's kind of like trying to count the drops in an ocean. That's what science is doing. They're like, in this tiny pocket of the observable universe, I need to have exact proof. It's like, I'm like, be quiet, man. It's unknown. To be human means to realize the test is knowledge itself. The test is consciousness itself. Through the Islamic theological lens, it translates to the modern person. I'll say it to you this way. You're inside an existential simulated system that you experientially access. That experiential access is also simulated, but there is something unknown and original about it. There is mods and there's a system admin. Okay? The mods are created beings. We cannot see them. They administer sectors. Okay? And there is an anti-human mod also. There is a mod that is anti-existence. Keep that in mind. Anti-human existence. Now, the mods are not visible, or I guess based on what's written is visible to the viewers. But the system admin is the point. So we are users, simulated users. There are simulated mods we cannot see. And then there is the original being. Religion means there is an original being in the room. Religion means there is a higher order to the lower order. Whether it's a process or a specific position. Nouns are closed systems. Verbs are open systems. When we've been conditioned to want truth to be a noun, we are trying to close the system, which is another way of saying we're telling God what its truth has to be. Guides the soul towards its unconditional original moment. Ultimately, all religions can be translated. You're inside a simulation. You need an intelligent interaction with the system meant to go beyond the system. This is why all those people who think like, yo, man, the new age people think they got to go make a geometric Merkaba body. I'm like, relax, guys. Relax. You know, it's like before you get enlightened, wonder about where you are. That's the issue with the whole New Age community and the modern Enlightenment movement. They're all trying to get enlightened, but they don't know what they are. What are you? You know, that's a way, like if somebody comes and tells me, who are you? That's a limited answer, you know. I'll just give you a sentence. You come and ask me, what are you? That question, its answers stem from an ontological domain. In other words, epistemology is how you know what's true. Ontology is what is true. And the ways that man knows truth could be way more limited than what is truth. And if we don't acknowledge that, we are an immature species. I'm telling you guys, Emil Durkheim saw this. Let me tell you what they're teaching in the educational system. It's all seeing man-made unnatural activity interpreted through natural means. And so what this means is this story of so people are like, yo, man, or let me say it this way, World Health Organization has statistics on like global depression, global suicide, global misery, increasing, right? And I'm like, yo, man, how hilarious are these statistics? They took ancient biological technology, put it in an unnatural environment, and they took a nature-made tech, and they put it in a man-made ecosystem, man-made environment, and this natural being is living unnaturally, as an unnatural idea of itself, and it's wondering why it's suffering. It's like the same thing as taking a monkey and putting it on a unicycle, or the same thing as caging a lion. A caged lion, it is not a true lion, and caged humanity is not the true humanity. This is not the true humanity. This is not the advanced humanity. All of us, including me, I am in this cage as well. What is the cage? This cage is the hardest cage to notice. It is a cage made of narrative. That means forget hypnosis, yo. Just go and reframe the story of an entity, and then you can control them. That has been the flaw in magic. In all my lectures, why haven't I cared in all these years? It's not like I haven't noticed. Why haven't I cared for conspiracy theories, secret societies, secret agendas, all this stuff? Oh man, they're hiding stuff. Why? You want me to exchange my time for fear? It's because it's language control. You see, it is way difficult to notice something you're using as an error. Right now, for example, the common man, if you go have a deep discussion with them on the nature of reality, whether they know it or not, subconsciously, they will defend the views they are familiar with, they're comfortable with. It's only the unknownists, those who have understood that they are unknown. In other words, I was raised by parents that told me, be honest. And as the current consciousness I am, I'm like, all right, to be honest in this world means to realize everything that is happening is more unknown than known. The known is a limited information, because it's limited, and because we're the observable universe is a pocket in the unobservable universe, and 95% of the world we don't know if what it's made of, if dark energy, dark matter, do you know? It's like it's pretty stupid to get controlled in a place that nobody knows what it is. It's pretty stupid. I shouldn't use the term stupid. It's foolish. All these people who are like, yo man, the masses are being controlled. I'm like, buddy, it's not some evil dude controlling people. It's the nature of language itself. Your language is used to give meaning to reality. Our individual psychological sovereignty is limited to that. That means there's a car outside, there's an object outside, we call it a car, and then we don't just call it a car, we call it somebody's car. That means subjects belong to the agency that manages them experientially. Do you understand? It's like, I don't know, guys. I'm gonna go back to this. That how is something new if we are giving it meaning based on the past? That means imagine okay, let me see. Imagine there's somebody, like, I don't know, imagine there's like this humorous situation. Somebody like brings a carrot and he brings an orange and is like, hey man, what should we name this fruit? And the guy's like, yo, that's the color orange, we're gonna call this fruit orange. And then somebody else brought a carrot or something and they're like, how about this, man? Do you know? And they're like, okay, we call this like light orange or something. And the person's like, doesn't sound right, bro. It's like, okay, call it a carrot. You know what I mean? And so what I'm telling you is that that wasn't a good example. That was actually a counter example. But I'm telling you, ask yourself what is new about your life, and if you're basing it on, and if you're comparing it to your past, how can it be new? In other words, the only way to experience novelty on earth is return to the original state of being, but consciously. Do you know what the difference is between a young child, and let's say an older man when it comes to virtue? The young child has virtue because it doesn't know better. The old man, do you know, its virtue is by behaving in accordance to knowing better. Do you understand? That means the child is automatically virtuous because it is innocent. But the warrior who's been in the battlefield, its virtue is not based on innocence. Its virtue is based on knowing better. So when we were young kids, before learning language, we were consciously being an unknown self. But then we got conditioned into language and we became a subjective known self.
Where did you go? Did you drive?
In other words, it's like we don't have the same innocence with the unknown anymore because we have dabbled in knowledge. In other words, it's about consciously being an unknown self. That means any moment you can become a known self. It's situational even. You don't think about who you are anymore. Just the moment, and the moment you enter is information enough to reanimate you. You know? But I'm telling you, if you take that up a notch, it means legit. If you right now think you are ill, if you think you're sick, if you think there's something wrong with you, if you think your life is not perfect, all of these are not this is not the behavior of an unknown being. This is the behavior of a known being. Do you know what this means? This means an unknown being cannot get sick. There is no reference point. Believing you are the reference point is the illness. Believing you are sick is the illness. Believing reality is something specific is the illness. It's unknown, folks. It's not how a species handles information that they can all process the same way. No. Guess what? We don't need an art gallery to realize the world has been an art gallery. Every moment we look at, different beings can look at and extract different meaning. Give different meaning. Novelty is just realizing the blank page again. Do you know what the solution to, for example, writer's block is? Writer's block happens only because of a misunderstanding. That the person has to keep the context fixed. The context can change. You will go through a phase in this life where you will think you're a physical being. You will go through a phase in this life where you will feel like, no, man, I'm this intelligence, rhythm of intelligence. You will go through this phase where you will realize everything that you know is present in the unknown. And you will realize what is superior to known contact, unknown contact. In other words, if I gave you two doors and one of them you would see something you that's known, something that you know, or something that is unknown, you don't know it. And we think that even when it comes to even attraction, perhaps in human psychology, we think that we want what we know. But even in business, Steve Jobs was like, how can people want what they don't know exists? There's a circulatory nature to reasoning. I'll explain. Look at the dictionary. When human beings explain something, they use an analytical means of language. I want you to look at the dictionary. I want you to look at the definition of any word, and you will notice it requires other words. A word cannot be defined without different words defining it. So in other words, you go read one definition of a word, that word, other words are used in that definition, and then you go look at another definition of a word in the dictionary, that word is all used in that definition. In other words, it's circulatory. This means that because whether you perceive it as a vacuum or you perceive it as unknown, ultimately edgeless, it just comes down to the context is unknown, yo. Do you know? Knowledge does not mean you discovered new concepts. Knowledge means you discovered concepts that their meaning arose. Like, it's the context that's important. Think of it, the basic way to explain it is like there's a self in a world, there's a concept, and they're in a context. Okay? So selves are usually found with worlds, with environments. characters are found in an environment. To me, right now we need to, these are the phases of on Earth. The species is moving towards uniting, and the allegiance of the species being to the human experience and the human nature rather than to just a chunk of specific colored land. Just like how primitive people would put paint on on their faces, human beings in modern time are just painting the land and standing on it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all part of one species, the human species on Earth. Okay? That's it. And the species will become responsible of itself regardless of how long it takes. It's written in the stars for it. So after species unity, right, then it becomes deeper and the species starts moving to what I've termed the language threshold. When it goes beyond the language threshold, consciousness doesn't need a condition to be alive. It is the force that gives the condition life. That force is not owned by an ego. That means if right now an ego is let's say an abstract sense of self you have, it's like the fictional sense of self you identify as, right, in the moment. So your ego, if somebody says, yo man, you're being egotistical, what does that mean? That means they're saying in a massive unobservable realm, in a tiny observable pocket of it, and in a tinier, unbelievably tinier pocket in that unobservable pocket of the universe, right? There's a human being having a tiny image of idea of itself, and it thinks that tiny idea of itself in this massive place, has the capacity to in some sense absorb all of this. No. Unfortunately, humanity is in the ice cube position. Do you know? Pretty much you're gonna melt, and the point of it is to understand that the ice cube turned into water, it turned into fluid liquid, right, from a solid state, but it's still the water, it's still H2O, just different structure. Do you understand? It's like endless simulations, but all of them happening in an original moment. God is not, the prophets did not just point to God. They pointed to what sort of reality would an absolute being be in. And it is beyond conditional fathoming. That means the issue with religious people, or the issue with religions, is not the religions themselves. They are just language. It is the people, and it's the people having the audacity to think that they have properly interpreted it. Do you understand? And use that statement for violent means or whatever means. That means if somebody comes and tells me, hey man, what kind of Muslim are you? What kind of religious person are you? I'll be like, I'm that religious being who looked at the holy book and realized the message. In the Holy Quran, there's a verse that the creator, the system admin of reality, the one and only, God says, I created mankind and jinkind for the sole purpose of worshiping me. Now, granted, I'm going to open up a very big discussion in theology. Okay? In theology, there's another verse in the Holy Quran. I had opened this years ago. And it said that even if you stop sinning and everybody stopped sinning, and God could have created them sinless from the beginning, even if everybody stopped sinning, God would make that race of beings extinct and bring a new race of beings who were still sinning. Why? It's not that the sin is the problem. God has already created angels in theology. Do you know what that means? That means God has already created perfect servants. God has already created perfect beings. God already has created angels. In the Holy Quran, it doesn't say, God doesn't say, I created mankind and jinn kind and angel kind for the sole purpose of worshiping me. God says, reveals in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, reveals in the Holy Quran, I created mankind and jinn kind for the sole purpose of worshiping me. And in another part, it's also saying you can't be sinless because the sin is there to make you realize that your method is limited. The egoic method, ego code has a limited expression compared to source code, which is the source of the expression. And in this existential simulated system that is simultaneously a testing zone within a divine surveillance state, that means, I might think that I got to go record a lecture, but I am speaking in the presence of the original awareness of being. That means I am not God. I am in the presence of. All of us are not God moving like together as one human body. We're not all the body of God. It is a matter of realizing the unconditional cannot equate the conditional from the conditional side. That means as a human, I cannot see Prophet Isa or Prophet Christ, peace be upon him, as God or the Son of God. Even though I can see the Christian argumentation of being born from the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit is not God in Islam. It's Archangel Gabriel. It's the angelic. Now, if from the human perspective, I cannot see anything inside this simulated box equating what is outside of it. But the only way Christ can be God is from the other side. From if God is a being that could be anything, but man that can fathom everything. So from the human side, Christ is God sent, is a messenger of God, is one of the most advanced beings to have ever existed on earth, beyond anything the modernity can interpret or know. It is just that if we make the conditional equate God, it's equivalent to idol worship. That means I out of my respect for Prophet Christ, Isa, peace be upon him, I know that he was not worshiping himself. He was not telling people, worship me. On the cross, he was saying, forgive them, for they do not know. Christ was directly communicating to a higher power. That means Christ, how can I explain it? Is God's will, just like the divine nature of manifestation is. In Islam, it says that Christians are the closest. Do you know that Muslims can see as an ally? I'm not even kidding you. Do you know? But the point of it is, I don't want to live on a planet where human beings are fighting over revelation that they were not there for. They are fighting over how they're exactly interpreting religion, when religion is saying, buddy, you're the majority of reality is unseen, and the unseen you cannot interpret by free will. The whole point of it is you are in another being's world. So I can understand the secular ego cannot accept this, but you will realize what are the options. There's four corners of psychology. You're either void, everything is meaningless, it's empty, it's zero. Either everything is singular and one, and it's all one truth, or everything is dualistic, or everything is infinite. The scales go beyond fathomable measure. And I'm like, yo, man, the unknown feels right. Every day I wake up, I re-simulate what it means to be me. I've listened to my own lectures and I'm like, no way I looked at life like that. It astonishes me. But I know that the point of it is that we are reaching the true archaic revival of the courage of species. We are reaching that point where you have taken this advanced unknown force, which is the soul, and they have convinced it exists in a physical realm. It's like, not only, buddy, are you in a physical simulation, do you know? You're not only in an objective simulation, you're in a subjective one as well. And what can a being do when it notices the simulations? You seek the original. In other words, what people interpret as novelty is returning to the original state, which is the unknown, literally. So to me, it's funny to me. Any new person I see, anything new I see, its meaning is not new. Its meaning is reconfigurations of past patterns. But it becomes new if I don't need that past pattern reconfiguration. And the only way that's, in some sense, I've seen in my experience, it's been possible, is like legit having a moment of being like, yo, I'm an unknown being in an unknown world. What are all these ideas doing, possessing my attention? Discover your true nature and the nature of all of it. Nobody has your DNA. Nobody has your eyes. You know, the greatest thing, a guru can tell you is that don't seek a guru or you will be chasing a stranger. Seek the reality. Seek, like, pretty much, I don't know. My strategy was, what if nobody knows? What if they are all wrong? What if I am wrong? What do we do then? And then I'm like, okay, a strategy needs to be like, what else can a strategist do? Your last breath better point to something greater. What else? What other destiny then for a strategist? It is all about the ability to respond and the acceptance of that. Once it happens, is the responsibility of mankind. We're reaching a point of the archaic revival, but now consciously into unknown. That means this species has lived enough as known selves in a known world. They've looped in their simulations enough. The species is awakening, and in some sense the advanced humanity, the songs of the advanced civilization will be heard. In 2026, I don't see anybody else talking about an advanced civilization, okay? But I know, I see it in my inner realms. It's gonna happen like a symphony orchestra. One instrument just play. They're like, yo, man, there's nobody in the audience. It doesn't matter. Play, you fool, play. And you just play the instrument until you start hearing the symphony. That means there's going to come a time and they're going to try to abuse this idea of an advanced civilization. You're going to see, but it's going to be impossible. Do you know? They're going to be like, there's going to be so many sorry to say it, but so many fake deep ones. But it's not that they're fake. It's all that they're scared. Evil is a sign of a scared soul. And it keeps being evil because it doesn't know How else to retain, redeem? Do you know that for a Muslim, if a yogi goes up, like a Hindu, like a Himalayan yogi, goes and, let's say, meets a Muslim and tells the Muslim, yo, I remember, like in the Puranas, I was said, like there was a yogi that remembered 7,500 apocalypses. This dude didn't just remember a couple past lives. He remembered beyond 7,500 apocalypses. The dude had a memory as long as time. Where times like that's impressive, But when that yogi who believes in reincarnation goes and asks the Muslim, do you believe you were somewhere else before this life? Contrary to what people think, do you know what the Islamic answer is? The answer is yes, but it was not in the world. This is the difference between Muslims and yogis. They're like, no, all Muslims, all the souls were in this world called Alam al-Arwa. In Islam, there's realms. There's a realm called Alam al-Malakut, the realm of the angels. And there's 7 heavens, the higher planes, Jannat al-Firdaus being the highest plane. Alam al-Arwa means the realm of the souls. And before souls were born in the womb, were entered the womb, after a certain, I guess, mentioned time, before souls entered the womb, they were in Alam al-Arwa, and in Alam al-Arwa there was a ranking system. The souls were there and they had ranks. And when these souls incarnate on earth, souls of the same rank get along with each other and know each other. Souls of different ranks don't know each other. Sometimes souls are outranked for where they are born, and sometimes they're underranked for where they are born. But the whole point of it is the human being it's God, the system admin, that raises the rank of your soul. You know, the soul's rank, or a soul deranks when an ego turns their heart into stone. The inner realms are not God, and the outer realms are not God, and the awareness to all of it is not God. All conditional possibilities of being are present in the unconditional. God means the system admin of this system is an absolute being. It means we on this side adjust to the conditions to validate our being. We adapt to the conditions of reality. But God doesn't adapt to the conditions. The conditions of reality adapt to the absolute being. So when God says the purpose of mankind and jinnkind is to worship me, it means, oh, dimensions of the realms I have created, it is now time for the march of everything that is formed in the world, the march of the cosmic information age and era back into the original state. What is truth? You found your unknown smile again. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced. In honor of the original unconditional moment that all conditional moments have arisen from and will return to. In the presence of the admin beyond the system and the world host beyond the world room. Rise, mankind, rise. In front of your eyes, an advanced civilization is waiting. Behind your eyes, the advanced power is. As the species not only becomes conscious of the divine cognitive fields, but attains collective contentment. What we saw was strange. It's like the tables have turned. The species is realizing to be normal is the weirdest thing to do in a changing world where everybody has a different DNA. It's all language adaptation. There's behavioral languages. There's mathematical language, geometric language. It's funny. It's all an energy doing something with what it is. That's the core thing. You know, there's an innocence to the human soul. It's not the same as the innocence of the child, but imagine a 90-year-old man. There's something, not even 90, let's say something like mid-range. Let's say somebody in their 40s. Like there's something innocent about that. There's something innocent about existing for the first time in this world. You know, one of the things that I didn't know when I was young, which I saw years later that if I had, it would have been better, was that I didn't realize I'm seeing myself for the first time. Every person is experiencing their own existence for the first time ever. And it's an existence that you can pilot certain sectors of. And ultimately, as the songs of the advanced civilization are heard, the great symphony of advancement begins. The beauty of the music on a universal scale will be on me. Today, it's mankind. Tomorrow, or excuse me, today it's person kind. It's individual kind. Then it will be humankind, all humanity, unity of humanity. Then there would be earth kind, all unity of species on earth. Then there will be, in some sense, sky kind, all unity with, in some sense, the atmosphere, atmospherical presence. And then finally we realize system for we. And God truly knows. I didn't create the system. You didn't create the system. We find ourselves in a world that was designed even before we got here. Have a great day. Thank you for listening. Or you think I have blind spots I'm not seeing? Let me know, guys. And anyways, take care. Have a good day.